Greetings and welcome to the Progressive Christians podcast. We are the love your neighbor kind of Christians and not the storm the Capitol kind. So if you are curious about what a socially and politically progressive Christianity looks like, then this is the podcast for you. We want to invite you to please rate, review, subscribe, share, all that good stuff to this podcast on whatever podcast platform you are using. We have our own podcast feed now. We have separated from the primary feed of the Loft, so we really need y'all to do those things so that people can begin to discover this particular podcast again. In today's episode, we will be discussing the debate because woohoo, it was worth discussing. And we're going to talk about some stuff going on with who's endorsing Kamala Harris and the passing of a great actor in James Earl Jones. My name is Reverend Dr. Christopher Carter, for those of you who do not know. And today I am joined by my two podcast compadres, my friends, my ride or die. I think I'll say that. Julie and Wesley, how are y'all doing?
Everyone, good.
Yeah, we're hanging in there. Ride or die. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Ride, hopefully not die. I mean,
Well, exactly.
I mean, eventually, but
it's not the goal,
eventually,
right? We'd rather ride than
not right now.
Just for the record.
Not right now. Just kind of want to enjoy the ride and not really think about the dying part of that statement. But so the debate happened last night. We are recording on Wednesday, September 11th. You should get this by Friday. And so, yeah, we are fresh off of that spectacle. And so I want to just start by just asking for y'all's initial thoughts. Wesley, what came up for you? What were your takeaways, with the debate?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a stark difference from the one we had back when Joe Biden was the candidate to be. Almost immediately, it was like, thank you that now we have a candidate who can articulate just full sentences in ways that, like, I'm not like straining to hear. I'm not like straining to understand. I'm just like, yeah, she's got what it takes to lead this country. So, yeah, I mean, I think, I was watching with friends, and one of my friends' mom was texting him, and she started calling Trump Grump, Grump. And I was like, I love that because I don't like writing Trump. So I'm going to call him Grump from now on. But just sort of just the amount of like people engaging with the debate that I think in the past I'd always watch debates and there'd be, the small circle of people that I am politically active with. But to see that it was sort of extending so much far beyond was like a hopeful reality for me, knowing that like there are older generations, our parents, who are also tuning in with the same sort of hope or frustration of Grump. And just like, it was a good, hopeful, positive experience. It's not a perfect structure. It's not, neither of them are perfect candidates, but it was nice to see someone capable standing in as the Democratic candidate.
No, I think that's a great point in terms of not only the capabilities of the person standing in, Wesley, but also the fact that I think to an extent that people were tuning in because they're still trying to figure out who she is. They're still trying to figure out who Kamala is. And I think it has broadened the landscape of who's even having these dialogues, right? So I know you're saying you were texting people who are particularly politically active, but I think more people were interested. I hadn't watched a debate in a while because I felt like I knew what the candidates are going to say. But this one I was like, oh, I'm curious as to what Kamala is going to say.
Yeah.
So no, I think that's an excellent point. Julia, what came up for you?
I mean, she did a great job. She's a professional. She is experienced. She knows what she's doing. She's a former prosecutor. She's a former attorney general. And I feel like that all really, really showed up last night. She came ready, and she dragged him from sea to shining sea. And she told him right to his face that he was a disgrace and an embarrassment, and like he didn't know what to do with himself, and like not in a mean and bitter way, but she was like, you are not okay. What did she say? You're having trouble processing that. I think you're having trouble processing that. Like, I don't know. You're not in touch with reality. And I think you're having trouble. Like, I believe that she did everything that she should have done. I think that it was the best that I've seen anyone debate him, because we've been seeing him out here, Hillary and then Joe. And I feel like she handled him well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see if she has a bounce in the polling. Because, you know, it's hard because she is exceptional and it doesn't matter, right? Like, he can stand up there and literally be a clown and not make a lick of sense. You can watch him be manipulated by her in real time and see how easy he is to play and manipulate. And people still, you know, he takes the licking and he keeps on ticking. That one, I don't.
I mean, I mean, you saw her set him up like
Over and
for
over.
yeah, and like as soon as she mentioned, I want you to go to one of his rallies. I was like, uh-oh. You see it
He's gonna
coming.
feel
You
that one.
see it coming. She's like, because people they get bored because he's selfish, which I do think. If there's anything that I would say I wish she had done differently was I wish they continued to go in on the fact that this man is deeply selfish
Yeah.
and only is concerned about himself, and that's what he talks about. And I think to get people to realize he doesn't care about them, although she did say that a few times, actually several times, that he has no plan for you.
He
But as
said
soon
he
as
had
she
no plan.
went
He has
into
concepts
well,
for a
Concepts of
plan.
plans.
well, if you want healthcare, he does not have a plan. He has concepts of an idea that could potentially, perhaps, become a plan. Even though he said he had a plan for replacing Obamacare in
And still
2016,
is
that
not
clearly.
correct.
Never materialized.
It also
So, but he walked right into that trap. Like he walked right into the trap of talking about how his rallies are great and how her rally, and rather than, and that was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was a question that was actually about immigration. Like the thing that all the data says he polls stronger than her, on immigration, and she was smartly pivoted away because it's a perception, it's not a reality. I mean, there isn't a border crisis. There's so many less people than he keeps talking about that's coming in, and yet he was so he just hates being picked on. Like, oh, you know what you do with a bully, you know what I'm saying, you gotta hit him right in the nose, and that's basically what she did. And she's like, and he over and over, and he doesn't have the capacity to stay on task and on point anymore like he used to several years ago. Like, he just doesn't have the mental ability to do that
I just
anymore.
really hope that it matters. Like, I mean, sure, it matters to me personally, but I hope that it matters in the grand scheme of things. I hope that people really do. Everyone saw it. It is undeniable. I just hope that people care and that it counts.
And the frustrating about that is that, like, it only really matters for that handful of states that are in contention. And that's like just a continual frustration of our electoral process, that we are so beholden to the electoral college. And she could have convinced millions and millions of people in California, but it ultimately does not matter,
Right.
because and it's frustrating. But yeah, I agree. I hope it matters.
It was good. It was also, it feels good to finally see people like drag him and call him out. And like, I feel like I have waited 10 years to have people really look at this person and at least say something honest, as opposed to trying to engage with him as though he's a normal person. It was also, I mean, I do wish that there was a little more fact checking and that the moderators were able to do that. They allowed him to ramble quite a bit, which, as you pointed out earlier, Wesley, that never benefits him, right? But I don't know that it, and I don't even know how much it harms him anymore because people are so used to it.
Yeah.
I would have preferred them turning those mics off and letting her continue to speak in, coherent sentences.
Yeah.
I felt it would have,
That is something that I was thinking.
yeah, that it would have been a better use of our time. But, I was nervous going in. I started a little bit late just because I wanted to see how it was going.
Missed the commercial. Oh.
See how it was going before I fully engaged. And I'm glad. I think it went well.
Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking during it is, like, it was hard because I'm trying to put myself in the space of an undecided voter. And it's hard to, like, let go of the context in which I exist. But, like, it's difficult for me to think that someone would see that performance, both of them on stage, and not have some deep concerns about the potential of another Trump presidency, because it's like this man is going back to the same sort of like conspiracy, anti-immigration things, like things that he's heard on the internet, things that like you have to be deeply online in order to like
The eating the
have a
dogs.
grasp of what's happening. The Aurora, Colorado thing. It's just like, so I'm trying to think as an undecided voter, seeing these two performances, this two sort of ways of debating and being like, yeah, I'm not sure yet. It's like, one, this is the president of the United States. One of these people shouldn't be that close to the presidency. And it's wild.
To me, the fact that the race is so close, no, with all the things that we know, right? All of the sexual assault, all of the felonies, all of the things, the lunacy, the pure chaos. The fact that this race is so close because so many people are still undecided has convinced me that people are undecided for reasons that are beyond, like, I can't understand it. And I think, I hope that there were more people, irrespective of the undecideds and independents, people who have never voted before, who have never engaged. My hope is that something about last night and being able to see such a stark contrast between the two will invigorate people who have never participated in democracy before to get it together. I think that is a better hope than hoping to change the minds of people who at this point still can't decide.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is I think this is an opportunity for them to use the. This is where social media and commercials are helpful because a lot of people, even if you didn't watch the debate, you can take some clips from this man talking about eating animals, from him
Mm-hmm.
saying I got the contours of a plan, for
Mm-hmm.
him saying I know I still won the election, from him saying that the J6, he keeps calling him J6, like I think somebody said that's like talking about like a pop band. You're right, saying like it's a
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like like they need to
And
be
not an
freed.
insurrection. Yeah.
He's like, why have we persecuted all these other people who are rioting in Seattle? I'm just and so you could. There's so many clips that you can have to advertise. Like this is what this man is really thinking about. He's not thinking about you. He's not thinking about the country. He's not thinking about anything other than being reelected to avoid going to jail and to try to consolidate power to go on a revenge tour for what he hasn't been able to do. I think the thing that can theologically, I kind of want to turn this to at least spend a few minutes to talk about the theology of this, the Christian perspective on this is like, I have a hard time understanding how a person of faith, a Christian in particular, can vote or think about this person or vote for someone who clearly does not have the concept of repentance, isn't
Mm.
like within them, right? The moderator said, do you regret anything you did? Would you have done something different on January 6th? Right? Just giving him a layup. All does he do? Say, yeah,
Yeah.
I would have done something different. I mean, like simple stuff. Like, and he lies all the time. I'm like, I would
Yeah.
lie. I'm like that. That is what I'm like. Hey, man. I'm like, it totally makes sense to lie here. And he's like, nope. He just is unwilling to acknowledge truth and his inability to again repent. This idea that he doesn't believe he should ever have to ask for forgiveness. I mean, it fundamentally like contradicts what we as people of faith, as Christians, hold to be true, that all of us sin. All of us sin. We recognize that we're not perfect and that we find grace in God to allow us to be lured towards love, right? So that we might sin less and create a beloved community. But we all fail to love. We all sin. And this man, he does not think he does anything wrong. And that to me is just a sign of a particular kind of selfishness that should cause Christians, especially Christians, to be concerned. Because this is someone who has not just a plank in their eye, but like all the planks,
Yep.
all the planks. And I think that's the
I
problem.
think that, I mean, this kind of goes back to what we discussed a little bit last week. I think that the reason that a lot of mainline fundamentalist Christians actually don't see it as bad, they see it as good because their faith is so enmeshed with their ideas of masculinity And like he's the type of person, and he speaks to the type of person who believes that men are never wrong, and that admitting that you're wrong is a weakness, and apologizing is like it's so entwined with his belief of what it means to be a strong man. And so many people conflate that with leadership, I think.
Yeah.
I agree. But even in the midst of his performing strength, she points out how he's weak. And I think was again a smart debate strategy.
Yeah.
And I think like she consistently was able to say like his inability to stand up to Putin is not a sign. Like he's like, oh, there wouldn't be a war in Ukraine. And she's like, yeah, because you would just let Putin win and then he'd be in Poland. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's not strength. That's not showing any kind of courage. That is a sign of weakness and a sign of capitulation. And I think that is where she was able to I think really eat away at some of the macho identity that he's trying to project right within this context and in this framework.
It was also why
and
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
well, I was gonna say like I do want to go back there because I know I spent so much time because I do talk about sin as a progressive Christian, and I think it is important for me to actually make sure for those of you who are new here you understand what I mean when I'm talking about sin within my theological understanding and what I fundamentally believe. I think is consistent in the gospel, especially as Jesus describes and articulates his view of sin is a failure to love, right? So this isn't this kind of not obeying the Ten Commandments kind of way of thinking about sin where it's much more performative in as much as it isn't following rules. It's much more about how and in what ways do we fail to love. So you think about the parable of the Good Samaritan, you think about the parable of the woman caught in adultery, which I absolutely hate that name of the parable, but that's what it is. You think about these instances where people have choices to love and they choose to do the unloving thing. They choose to do the selfish thing. They choose to do the thing that centers themselves rather than actually uplifts the community. The rich man and Lazarus, right? Like there's all these examples where over and over again, the person that Jesus holds accountable for having sinned isn't the person you would think that has done the wrong thing. It's actually the person who has failed to love over and over and over. And I think that is clearly a flaw. I mean, Trump, to be the pastoral response to me actually says Trump doesn't even love himself. Like what I'm saying, like he does not love. He does not talk about anything that has to do with love. Like there's nothing that comes up from him that is in fact loving. And that is from deep woundedness. When he talks about his dad, he's like, oh, I wish my dad gave me this much money. My dad was a good man. He owned buildings. Like he can't tell a story. He can't tell a
he's never felt
narrative.
love. That's why he's broken. And when he sees it, it confounds him. Like it's a thing that he can't even witness. And he has a visceral reaction to even seeing it because it is a thing that is so far from what he's ever experienced. And in that way, in theory, I suppose if I were a better person, I could pity him.
Do you want to add one or two more qualifiers on that? You want to have like maybe you're like in that way, in theory, I suppose if I could, if Mars is in retrograde, you know, like I don't even know what else.
If I were a better person, I could pity him. But alas, here I am, not quite good enough, you know?
No, I think we all are responsible for tending to and healing our wounds, right? It's his responsibility. I can actually extend empathy and compassion for Trump and also hold him accountable for needing to do the work to heal himself, no matter how old you are, right? He hasn't experienced anything in this world that other people haven't had to grow through and experience and grow and heal from as well. And he has made the conscious choice to try to feel better about himself by fitting into certain spaces or taking advantage of other people, rather than actually tending to the broken parts of his own soul. And again, I think this is so obviously antithetical to the gospel. His inability to articulate a message of love, his inability to articulate a message that actually pulls people towards a common understanding of what it means to be human. That's not how he thinks. I mean, he clearly operates in a framework that is dehumanizing, that doesn't actually see, like, as God does, looks at the creation narratives and say, this is good. You know, this is good. He just doesn't see
Goodness.
all humanity, and even one might argue even Christian is creation. Yeah, you said, Julie, he doesn't see goodness in so many people, including himself. And so this again just is what confounds me when people of faith can make this argument, particularly when, even if they're the single issue voters, any of that kind of stuff, which I think again is not a morally consistent position to take. It's you listen to him and you just keep going back to the fact that if I'm a person of faith, if I'm a Christian, if I'm a person with a intellect, and I hear him speak, person is dangerous, right? This person is dangerous to put in power, and that should, above all things, should be what motivates people to vote. And unfortunately, we know it's not. We know it's other people vote for any number of reasons, and most of these rich people are supporting Trump because they don't want to pay as much taxes, and they want. The other thing I should say too, before we shift, is I think he comes across as a person. When he doesn't come across, he is a person that can be manipulated and controlled, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's been able to get elected, and why conservatives like conservative
Right.
Christians especially, because they can whatever agenda they have. Like when he says Project 2025, I don't know anything about it. I don't think he's lying.
He
I think
probably has not read it.
well, this man does not read anything unless it's on
He
social media.
definitely has not
Right?
read
So
it.
like he will implement it because those are the people who have helped finance, and they are the people who have, it's quid pro quo. You did this for me, I'll do this for you. That's all he cares about, right? And so that's why I think another reason they vote for him is like, well, he will do the things we believe need to be done within a Christian framework.
Yeah.
Within a particular kind of conservative Christian nationalist framework, to be clear.
Totally.
And that is deeply, deeply hurtful and problematic. But there anything else you want to say about the debate before we shift? Because I want to make sure if we got any other things that he said that you want to point out.
Oh, I was going to say, I did think it was especially wild when he shouted out Viktor Orban. And I think that he is counting on the ignorance of a lot of people who might not know who that is. That was to me the most shocking thing that he said. He was like, Viktor Orban loves me. I was like, what? Did you just say that out loud? That's that's crazy that he said that. But I don't know that everyone knows what that means.
Well, it's also like, if we're thinking about who this is supposed to be communicating to, it's not people like us who are deeply enmeshed in
Global politics,
for whatever reason we decide to be gluttons for punishment. But like, you do this in a debate stage to people who may not understand. They have no concept of Viktor Orban and the issues he brings to the table. So I don't even know what it does.
I mean, I assumed that people that might not know who that is just assume that it must be a great guy, a European leader.
I guess.
I mean, all you gotta do is Google it, and you see that this person is a wannabe dictator.
Yep.
Essentially,
megalomania.
That's how I would describe it. Like to an extent, he has created a legalistic fascist country, which is how you create a fascist country. You start with the legal system, which, I mean, this is the reason why Trump has put all those judges on the circuit. There's a reason why you do that, because then you create pathways such that your power can't be put in check, right? Yeah. And so it's a strategy that I understand why, because it's effective. But yeah, shouting out Viktor Orban, I thought, was not the best strategy for winning undecided voters.
Do most the other thing I wanted to say, know who Viktor Orban is?
Yeah, that's my point. It's like, what is this doing for him?
They don't. I don't think they do. I think that's he speaks in tweets. And by that I mean like if you are on Twitter, if you're on right-wing media propaganda, which is clearly most of what he reads, those people know who Viktor Orban is. Those people will hear that and think yes, but they're going to vote for him anyway. Right. And so he has lost his capacity to speak to regular, normal people. He just has. And I think J.D. Vance suffers from this as well. Even though J.D. Vance is not as old as Trump, you can clearly see J.D. Vance is a person who's deeply insecure and spends a lot of his time in these media echo chambers of the conservatives. And so he says what they want to say. Now, to be fair, or I should say to be clear, I read not nearly as much conservative stuff as they do, but enough to know mostly what people are talking about from a political perspective and a theological perspective. And there's a way to do it so you have an idea of it without actually subscribing to the crazy.
Yeah.
But for them, it's affirming. That's who they want their audience to be, and I think that's why they speak that way, because that's what they read. So yeah, Wesley, was there anything you wanted to say before we wrap? Okay, is there anything additional he said that you thought was particularly weird that we need to note before we move on?
No, I'm good. I'm sure there'll be more. It's just it's all over the place. No, I'm good.
No. I mean, it was definitely tons of strange things. I mean, I think the last thing I'll say before we pivot and kind of talk about some of the stuff we want to name that's happened in the culture was, I struggle with how we have debates in this country, political debates, because debates can only work if you have a normative baseline of what truth is. What's truth and what's a
Fair.
lie.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching this, I'm like, there need to be some kind of, the way we do debates, when you have someone who is a just pathological liar, there needs to be someone, and I would do this with the rest of the debates, that's just like, their job is not to moderate, their job is to sit there, and after a person speaks, to have someone feeding them in their ear when that person, what are the inaccuracies,
Yeah.
to
Live
hold them
fact check.
accountable. Yeah.
Yep.
Live, because if there's anything we should believe as Christians, is in the power of accountability, and the fact that we're all going to be held accountable at some point. And like, there is nothing that's been done to keep and hold him accountable for the ways in which he's just allowed to traffic in so many lies.
Yep.
And that people are going to hear those lies and not question them. They're just going to believe them. I think that's what bothers me. It's like, over and over, I kept thinking, people are hearing this and they're going to think he's saying the truth, and it's a lie. We're not saying it's a lie. The only way they're going to know it's a lie, I was on the live fact checker, right? So I could see what NBC News was saying, but like, that's like another level of engagement. I mean, they could have had it even scrolling on the bottom of the TV. That would have been fine too. But there's a way we need to redo the way we conceptualize and think about debates in an era where the truth is
Easily questioned.
yeah, right. Where what is known to be true doesn't really have the same kind of concrete solid ground that we used
With
to have.
even calling it a debate, I feel like with the defunding of public education and like the ways in which education in this country have kind of just like gone by the wayside, it's not even really a debate. Like, it's not a debate about issues. It's not a debate about, like, he was up there rambling, right? And like, she was kind of sometimes given an opportunity to respond. Otherwise, she's just trying to uplift her platform, which is not, that's not what a debate is, right? In the like classical sense. But when you don't have an electorate who knows what that is, when you don't have an electorate that's informed, and you don't have only half of the candidates are capable of like engaging in critical thinking, it's like, I think it was important. I'm glad that it was done. I know that she's offered to do a second one, and he's already said he won't because he won the first one. So why would he do another? But I'm still not convinced, and not that I have a better idea, but it's not my job to have one. But I think that there has to be a better way, I think we should modernize these things is what I think I mean.
Yeah. Time.
No, I agree. I'm actually looking at, so there is this, there's a person who moderated a debate in Colorado District.
Oh my God, he's
4.
so great. That's what I need.
Yes.
I was like, I'm trying to find his name.
Lauren, he did it to Lauren Boebert.
And I'm so, yeah, he did it to Lauren. Yeah, but I'm trying to find his name because he was so good. And I'm sorry for those of you listening, I cannot. But if you look up the Colorado CD4 debate, if you just Google it, you'll see
Kyle Clark.
Oh my gosh. I was like, this is how you hold a debate. He was, I mean, basically, if people didn't answer the question, he would just be like, oh, so you have no answer. Moving on. And I'm just like, just say that. Just be like, oh, so you actually don't have just name the truth. Like,
Absolutely.
name the truth. Yeah. And I felt like that'd be an excellent way to hold them accountable, but that's not the way it's been done. And so we're operating. Well, to be fair, I think what's happening is in this shifting landscape, we're trying to decide which norms we want to hold on to and which ones we don't, right? It's not normative for for the moderator to be that engaged in a debate, but we're living in a world now where, since there is no where truth and facts are consistently being manipulated and lied about, you have to engage. And all he was simply doing was pointing out their inconsistencies and the
Yep.
ways in which they were unwilling to answer questions. He's like, yes or
Yep.
no. Okay, well, you don't want to say yes. That means no, basically. And I'm like, do that. I would pay that man straight cash money. I'm like, if they would do a fundraiser to have him do the next debate, I will donate to that cause.
Start that GoFundMe.
I'm like, man, get him. That's who I want. What was his name again?
Kyle Clark.
Kyle Clark. Get Kyle Clark on the scene.
It's really great.
Look at that, man. White man to the rescue.
Really
you never
great.
know. Sometimes it works. Like sometimes it
Still
works.
surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the white dudes out there doing the good work.
Well, that the debate did encourage a member of the culture, not my culture,
It sure did.
but the culture, to come on out. And she is, you know what? She is I am a member of her culture. Childless cat ladies unite.
Ooh, represent
A Miss Taylor Swift. Okay. She came out loud and proud last night. And she said,
sure did.
That AI image, no, sir, no, ma'am. That was not me. You ain't going to get me up here looking crazy, putting words in my mouth. No, I'm going to make it for all people to know that this November, she said, you could do what you want to do. You could do the research you do is your own. But honey, as for me, a childless cat lady, I will be casting my vote this November for none other than Vice President Kamala Harris. That is what she said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now I know you done preaching, but it sounded like, I don't know if you remember, and this is so inside nerdy to me. Like it just sounded like on the very end of the book of Joshua, where he's talking about like, as for me and my people, like we will say. And I was like, oh man, you just went straight to Joshua, went right into the Hebrew Bible. Like, as for me and my house, we will vote for Harris.
Me and my child, who is a cat. Okay. Our household vote
absolutely
will go kindly to those who do not disparage us and our people and people like us. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what she said.
She got 1 million likes in 13 minutes.
It's her endorsement.
It matters.
And Julie, I know you. I'm gonna give it to you because you're the one that said it. I'm just saying. I think her endorsement may matter more than the debate last night. Like literally, like they're like, oh, how much is it? Like, so they may look at measuring the polls and be like, what does the polls say? But like, how do you calculate like the Taylor Swift index against the poll as well? Because she has, I mean, between her and Beyonce, you have this collective power of deeply influential, powerful women who people respect, right? And who clearly are capable of leading and giving opinions that are deeply held arguments, right? And so I think her endorsement, particularly because a lot of her fans are going to be, just white women and women in general, but white women, it's going to help. Yep. Like that is the demographic that needs to turn out for Harris, because that is the demographic that has turned out for Trump. And so all these young, because again, also most of the people, if you were, in 2016 and you still like Taylor Swift, you were probably like maybe 14 or 15. Now you in your mid 20s. You know what I'm saying? And so now you can vote.
There was a Republican that said that at the last election when she endorsed. They were like, I don't remember which one it was. I don't know. They're all the same to me. Some older white man who was like, oh yeah, that'll matter a lot for all the 13-year-old girls who can't vote. And someone was like, guess what? Now they can. I think that it will be more important than the debate. I think her endorsement is going to matter. I hope that it engages that demographic that we need, that we've never won, that is consistently both last election and the election before, presidential elections, have gone for Trump, white women. I don't know much about her. I'm not her target demo, which is fine. I think she's great, but the power that she wields, that I don't know, she and Beyonce, that female pop artists have never held before. So in the past, I feel that so many pop artists, if they were women, they were so hypersexualized. Their music was rarely political. And both of these women have intentionally taken a turn from that. That's not how they use their platform, and that's not how they cultivate their art. They both are extraordinarily political, and they take up a lot of space, and neither of them are, Taylor Swift is unmarried. Heaven forbid.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say too. I think they both have courage that we see so many other celebrities don't have, and I think to me the perfect counterexample is someone like Dwayne Johnson. Like The Rock basically said, "I'm not gonna." He supported Biden at the last election, but then he felt like that cost him popularity among some conservatives, and so now he's like, "I'm not supporting anyone because it's divisive." Well, I mean, that's just like you lack a fundamental kind of courage to actually be not only a leader, but also to recognize that your opinion actually does matter and it sways people, and it's not about you. You're making it about you as opposed to the country. The other thing I want to mention before we wrap up is the passing of the legendary actor James Earl Jones. When I saw this a few days ago, the first thing I thought for me was, I love his voice, just so amazing. But then it made me think of, again, times when his voice, like Darth Vader for me, Star Wars, and Lion King. I was like, you have two iconic examples of someone who really, I thought, had a particular kind of voice and presence in a time where it's so difficult for Black male actors to actually break into either Broadway or the movies. He was always able to. I don't think he ever got the credit like Sidney Poitier, or like he didn't make that level, but he was that next right below there. Very well respected, great actor. And I just like, man, I would want to at least give a shout out to the ways in which I know how he shaped my childhood and my thinking about so many things. Even The Sandlot, like I was into Sandlot and stuff like that. I was thinking about that. I love The Sandlot.
Such a good movie.
Well, I remember
it's
the first time, because my mom loves Star Wars, and I remember watching it, and I remember her telling me, like, that voice, that's a Black guy. I'll never forget it, because I was like, what? Like, I thought it was so crazy. But what's your favorite? Lion King. You guys go.
My favorite James Earl Jones? Oh, man. I think it's close between Lion King and A Field of Dreams. Man, yeah, it's really
Field of
close
Dreams
between
is
those
the one
two.
that's in Iowa. I
Yeah.
never saw it
Build
while
it
I
and they
lived
will
there, but
come.
everyone talked
Yeah.
about it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
What's
it's
your
good.
favorite?
It's really good.
Leslie?
I mean, Lion King for sure, and it's for the reason that like Mufasa and so many of those early Disney villains were so queer coded, and that they live as a canon, as this like queer collective of like villains, but still like fun, incredible characters that are part of my childhood, and that Mufasa is just that much better.
Is Mufasa queer coded?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking just
Scar.
I'm mistaking.
No, Scar.
Scar.
You think it's Scar.
Mufasa. Yes.
But I know
Jeremy
what you meant.
Irons.
I know what you meant.
I
Yeah.
didn't know what you meant.
Yeah.
But Mufasa, I remember watching the when he dies and just being absolutely right.
Spoiler alert.
Oh my God, this movie is from like 1874. It's not that old, but it's 1990 or something.
1994.
Not a spoiler.
I also want to shout out Coming to America, another great film.
Oh,
I actually haven't
classic.
seen that one.
Oh my goodness! Oh my
gosh!
goodness!
Oh Lord, we gotta have a watch party. We gotta. I'm like, how have you not seen King Joffrey Jofer?
Oh my gosh!
I'm like, it's so.
iconic.
It is.
It is. Wesley, once you see this movie, you will understand. You understand Black comedy even more, because so many people have one-liners from Coming to America that are like they be sliding this stuff.
Everyone is in it.
Yeah. No, it's so good. It is one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies of all time, but definitely
it's my second favorite. My favorite Eddie Murphy movie, I think, is Boomerang. But this is a different.
I don't even know that one.
Different episode where y'all teaching me more about movies I've seen Boomerang though.
I was like, you've never seen
so we will report back in a few weeks after we've made Wesley watch Coming to America, so he understands this part of the culture. But we want to thank y'all for listening and for joining us on Progressive Christians Podcast. If you'd like to connect with us and be a part of the conversation, you can find us on Instagram at @the_progressive_Christians, and on TikTok @the.progressive.Christians. So we are on social media. We're trying to build our followers up. So if you could like us on there, we'll be posting some clips from our episodes on there as well. So please follow us on those channels, rate, review, subscribe to us. Please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify. Allow us to grow our platform so that we can share the fact that there's a different kind of Christianity that people actually are interested in and can be a part of, that we believe is a unifying rather than a Christianity that is divisive. So thank you all for listening, and we will see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.